I want to hope that some of your listeners don't know what digital assets are. Think about, how much cash did you have in your pocket 10 years ago? How much cash do you have in your pocket right now? Why am I excited for AI? Because I believe AI needs blockchain more than blockchain needs AI. I've recently became an owner in an oil well. I never thought that would be possible. I really believe in a world where technology will enable all of us to live a more fulfilled life.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Date with Tech. I'm your host, Will Snow, and today we have Saqr Ereiqat with us, the Secretary General of Dubai Digital Assets and Association. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So tell us a little bit more about what D2A2 is.
So the Dubai Digital Asset Association is the only not-for-profit association with a focus on digital assets in Dubai. That's what I have on paper, but I'm pretty sure also in the UAE and pretty sure even in the wider region. And our role is that of any trade association. So think of the Chartered Accountant Association or the Surveyors Association. So our business is really to ensure that everyone has the right information, that businesses know where to land, to provide guidance to regulators where we can, to provide guidance to larger institutions where we can, and of course the startups as well.
Dubai is obviously a fast-growing place, specifically around blockchain, tokenization, all of these things happening, and really a converging of technologies. How do you position yourselves and help entrepreneurs, businesses come into the space?
So in a previous business of mine, we helped more than 600 companies move to the UAE in partnership with the government. Before that, we were part of writing the Dubai blockchain strategy, which was the first strategy for blockchain of a government anywhere in the world. So we don't try to differentiate ourselves in any way. There's an AI association, and you can go there for AI-related matters. There's the Dubai Blockchain Center, who are dear partners. There's the Middle East FinTech Association. There's the FinTech Tuesday. So we actually work with all of them. We partner with all of them. If you want to find us, we're probably the go-to experts when it comes to anything digital assets. But for all intents and purposes, our focus is enablement of the market, enablement of talent, enablement of the right organizations to actually enter into the space.
Okay. So some of our listeners might not really know what digital assets are. Could you describe those?
I want to hope that some of your listeners don't know what digital assets are. Because, very early on, what really got me in this entire space was how I believe that digital assets and the onset of blockchain as a technology is a generational opportunity that will help some of the weakest and smallest members of our society to access wealth in one way or the other. But away from the philosophical element and specifically, think of the world that we live in today. We have more connected devices than we have people on the planet, right? And then you're thinking, okay, this is a shocker, but look around you. You probably right now you have a phone in your hand. You're sitting in a car listening to a radio. You have a TV that's on. So already there's more connected devices than there is people.
Of course.
Already a lot of what we do as people, just day to day, isn't actually physically driven anymore. Think about, how much cash did you have in your pocket 10 years ago? How much cash do you have in your pocket right now? How much of your payments do you do digitally? How much of your payments do you do in cash form? Think about music and the way we live music, right? I grew up in a world where you need to go and buy a CD. Later, we had yeah, there you go. But very early on, then MP3s. And so life is moving towards more and more digital. That's happening with or without blockchain or anything. Now, what blockchain and digital assets do, blockchain provides this single source of truth, this decentralized ledger where anything can be tracked throughout its life cycle, right? And on top of blockchain, you then have digital assets that were born. And you know what? That is not necessarily right to say, because digital assets can be your iTunes song can be your own digital assets. But in today's common understanding, a digital asset is an asset that lives on blockchain. So think of cryptocurrencies. That's one. Think of your title deed that exists on blockchain now. Think of a bit of real estate that you own, maybe a mining company that you own. I've recently became an owner in an oil well. I never thought that would be possible, but that happened through digital assets.
I think it's also brought along a lot of fractional ownership, giving people access to...
Less than I hoped it would by now, but yeah, slowly but surely.
So I'm just thinking, we speak a lot about like knowledge being accessible now, like YouTube. You could learn anything. It's on your device, it's in your pocket. And really what you're describing to me is these asset classes are now available to pretty much anyone that wants to tap into them. How would a common user or customer go about entering into the space?
Education, education, education. Right. And I'm really keen on everyone in this space spending time educating themselves. And the education is free. So if you go to my LinkedIn, you'll find a treasure trove of resources by Princeton universities, by large organizations that are there to give you everything that, usually you'd pay tens of thousands of dollars for, to pass it on to you for free. So educate yourself. That's the very first point. Once you've educated yourself, figure out, is this for you? Is this not for you? Because don't chase the hype. Right? If this appeals to you, that's well and good. Otherwise, there's alternatives that probably provide you with a similar kind of access. But practically, and what I find so fascinating about this space, the kind of investments that were closed off for anyone that's a accredited investor to anyone with $1 million to invest is now available to anyone with maybe $1,000 already.
And I think, Saqr, just there's a lot of misconceptions in the space and challenges.
Yes.
What do you think the biggest misconceptions are?
Too many to count. But I guess the biggest misconception is that this is easy money, right? That this is risk-free, that this only goes up. Now, don't get me wrong. Ask me about my personal conviction, and I'll tell you all of these things. But matter of the fact, I'm not a financial advisor, right? So I'm convicted. I'm convinced, I believe in all of this, and I believe Bitcoin is the magic money go up tool. Having said that, all of this entire industry carries an immense amount of risk. Anyone that tells you otherwise is trying to probably sell you something. What I'd like to invite the listeners, viewers that are watching this and are hearing this for the first time, do not go and find a guru. Be your own guru. The information is out there. It's free. It's accessible. And you go figure out what this makes sense for you for. But this is a risky asset class. Best case scenario, Bitcoin a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago was at 120,000. Within a couple of months, we went down to 87, I think, 86 even, right? So if you've invested at that time and then you sold, that's a major loss that you would have realized. Anyone that's trying to tell you that this is, this is the magic answer to everything isn't right. Having said that, it is a unique asset class, and everyone will need to decide, is it an asset class I want exposure to or not?
It really talks around about your investment portfolio, what you should be investing in, de-risking yourself. I think there's definitely something about spreading yourself around in terms of your investment strategy. But really coming back to what you've said, it's building your own knowledge and understanding and growing your mind in that space, and then choosing how to gauge your risk profile and what to invest in. Do you have any advice around how people should do that?
I'm not a financial advisor.
Is that your disclaimer?
Right? Yeah, no, not just as a disclaimer. I found Bitcoin very early. And, I thank God for that. And I feel very privileged to have been able to be in this space for now 11 years. I believe in Bitcoin, right? I'm the La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, parents, all of it. And yes, Bitcoin, I'll put up there in my conviction, right? As someone, I believe in it. But that's it. I believe in it. If you share my belief, then don't bet the house on it. There's something called dollar cost averaging, which essentially means you're constantly buying at whatever price there is. If you share the conviction that, Bitcoin or gold or whatever it is that you'd like to invest in is actually good, there's no need for you to go out there and, sell an asset to buy this asset. No, take $100 that you have extra a month. Take $10 that you have extra a month. Just have a reminder there once a month that you're buying, and it doesn't matter at which price because you're convicted of it. if you're looking for this to be a retirement plan and an investment alternative, speak to an investment advisor. Best case scenario, don't speak to anyone. Educate yourself to a level that you feel comfortable enough to make these decisions by yourself. The knowledge is out there and it's for free.
We've seen a lot of regulation come in on the crypto space over the last, call it 5 years.
Yeah.
Where are regulators at the moment with blockchain?
Globally, I believe that regulators are having a hard time with this. If we look at MiCA, what was issued in Europe, the MiCA regulation in many ways is already outdated and is not supporting markets, but in many ways is alienating some of the largest players. If we look at what's happening in the US, I mean, it doesn't take a PhD to figure out that there's heavy market manipulation happening over there, and the regulators are playing favoritism to the corporate aristocracy of the US. And that's why I hail the UAE so much, and I'm such a proponent of what's happening here, because what's happening here is His Highness. First of all, in 2015, 16, I think the announcement came, but 15, it was already being discussed. His Highness Sheikh Hamdan announced the UAE, Dubai specifically, as the first blockchain-powered government in the world, becoming the first government to have a blockchain agenda as early as 2015-16. The FSRA in Abu Dhabi and ADGM as early as 2018 had guidance papers on how to regulate this. Then fast forward, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the ruler of Dubai, the Prime Minister of the UAE, and may God protect him, announced the Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority of Dubai, which became the first regulatory authority in the world. Ask many industry players, they'll tell you what we're seeing from VARA is unprecedented, as these are people that are trying and they're doing their best to understand and to help the entire industry grow together. And it's a privilege for us at the Dubai Digital Asset Association to be on the table helping these regulations move along. And we're quite excited for what's happening in the UAE. And I think we're just at the beginning of all of this.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the leadership has made a concerned effort really to drive new technologies, innovation in the region, including the blockchain side of the world. If I think about where we are with technology, I'm sure the hype is all around AI, as you're aware, and robotics and quantum now.
Yeah.
How do you see quantum computing as well as AI playing into the space?
Let's start there. 10 years ago, I stood on stage with full conviction, and I don't regret it, saying 2 years from now everything's going to be on blockchain. And I was convinced of that at the time. And you know what? I don't blame myself of being convinced of that at the time. Having said that, fast forward now 10 years, we're still not where I thought we would be 2 years from then. So blockchain technology is still waiting for its aha moment, right? We're all excited about crypto and everyone's talking about crypto, but no one's much talking about blockchain and what blockchain as a technology can do. And I always say that if the entire world is the opportunity of blockchain, then crypto is just one small continent, Australia, for example, right? So the wider opportunity of blockchain, I don't think has been tapped into just yet. Why am I excited for AI? Because I believe AI needs blockchain more than blockchain needs AI. Right?
Interesting.
Yeah, I believe in the future world where machines are, and it's not the future world, we live this future world already. Machines are talking to machines, right? And you're trying to verify which machine is right, which machine is wrong, which machine, has the license to do what it's supposed to be doing, which machine is malicious. I only see one technology out there right now that can do this, and that's blockchain.
Agreed.
Right? Think about cars speaking to each other. Think about, devices, other devices speaking to each other. That can only happen with blockchain.
Yeah.
So quantum, I think, is another one of these technologies that everyone should have read about. Essentially, quantum computing is throwing everything we know about computing out of the window.
Agreed.
Our entire world is zeros and one, on, off, black, white. Quantum computing says it's neither. It can be 0 and 1. It can be 0 and 1 at the same time. And with that, it's catapulting us light years forward when it comes to computing. There definitely is a risk if we don't take action. But the matter of the fact is the attacker will start using quantum computing, but the defender will also start using quantum computing. And it's all still very nascent. So I don't think, I don't like the doomsday calls that, oh my God, quantum computing will kill crypto. I don't think that's factual already. When you look at the Bitcoin network, they've already prepared for the onset of quantum computing. The update is ready in the community and can be implemented. Yes, the risk is for anyone that doesn't take action. So think about all of these lost coins. They technically could become available again after quantum computing is wildly available, which again, no one can put a number to right now. So definitely something to think about. And then now with that, obviously digital identity, and we're living it here again in the UAE. Our digital identity is some of the world-leading digital identities in the world. The UAE Pass, you log in to your electricity, to your telecommunication provider, to your visa application, to your government services. You use that digital identity. And again, that digital identity, technically speaking, if quantum computing would be adopted by the people defending that, would be vulnerable. But the entire notion, you always have to keep in mind, the attacker will use it, but the defender will use it as well. So this entire doomsday calling that, oh, quantum computing is going to end the world, yes, definitely going to shift our understanding, but I don't think anything major is going to happen, given that the defenders will also be using quantum computing.
Understood. I think you've really touched on a few things that walking away from the doomsday kind of pieces, and that actually we hope for the good in the industry.
We do.
Yeah.
We can hope for the best and expect the worst. That's
that's standard. And I think another question for you is really like, what is your vision of the future specifically for the technology in the industry?
I'm a bit utopian when it comes to that. A bit doe-eyed, consciously so. I really believe in a world where technology will enable all of us to live a more fulfilled life, to create income for ourselves without noticing, to be happier people, and to focus on what really is important. But again, that's the utopian in me.
Look, I'm a bit of a trekkie myself, and we will hopefully get to a point in society where money doesn't happen and we explore deep cultural roots, exploring the universe. Which is a lovely dream to work towards.
So I'd love that to be the future where, no one has to work anymore. We have, robots to do our chores, and, we have self-driving cars picking us up, and no one needs to sit in traffic because, everything is happening so smoothly and easily. Is it realistic? I don't know. But it's the world that I want to imagine for my children to grow up in.
Beautiful.
And I think technologically speaking, we've never been closer to that world.
Amazing. Yeah, it's so good. I think one last question for you. Sure. I know you've got to be on stage later.
Later in 20 minutes.
In 20 minutes. What is like one piece of advice that you can pass on to the generation coming up out of schools, out of universities? How do they enter the space? How do they find their purpose?
So I think this entire concept of finding your purpose, I think it's being overhyped a little bit. My one advice is knowledge is out there and available to everyone freely, openly, by the best resources in the world. Think Princeton, think Oxford, think Harvard. All of them have free courses out there. Go educate yourself and make sure you get one skill right. And no AI will ever be able to take that away from you. How do you actually get stuff done? Be able to execute, get stuff done. Whatever that stuff is, if that stuff is reading a book and summarizing it, if it's learning a new skill, if it's, the matter of the fact is the world we have inherited from or we're creating right now and that people will inherit from us is not the simple world we've inherited from our ancestors. So we need to constantly be ready for change, constantly be able to adapt and learn something new. And yes, if there's one skill that everyone needs to focus on, is just getting things done.
Beautiful. Truly inspiring.
Thank you so much.
You've really reached out to my heart and my soul.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I'll take this forward with me. And
Super.
I think really, just not to have an idea, not just to talk about it, but to actually be an operator and execute.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Good stuff.
So thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good luck with everything else you've
All the best. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Perfect.
Cheers.